Welcome to another episode of Relationship, Reconciliation, and Healing, where we talk about everything regarding our relationship with God, with ourselves, with others, and with nature. It was a beautiful Tuesday morning. Having sanctified my day with the celebration of the sacrifice of Holy Eucharist and my morning prayer, I entered my room and my phone came alive. I meant to eat. It closed its eyes. And just immediately, it smiled again at me with so much brightness. And I picked the phone and I heard from the other end, "Good morning, Father." This greeting came from a shaky voice, a distressed voice. Long story cut short, I discovered upon my discussion with this lady that she had been sick for a while. But instead of seeking a session with a medical doctor, after months of self-medication, she opted for a deliverance session. And she went from one prayer house to the other after the other until she got to a church where a prophetess, after a consultation, told her, "You need to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God." She asked, "Please, what does that mean?" According to her, the prophetess gave her serious look of disapproval and with stern voice asked her, "Do you mean you don't understand what I have just said? That in the spiritual realm, your sickness can only be healed by a native doctor, not a herbalist. That she needed to consult a native doctor who will tell her the origin of her sickness and the remedy to her sickness. That if she continues praying, she would die." Meaning that her sickness was beyond prayer. My dear friends, my discussion with this lady and her story reminded me of many persons who have been deceived, who have been led astray by mention of this scriptural passage. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. Some also use it as a justification for swimming in endless ocean of iniquity. That is why I've decided to take a few minutes to make clarification. And I also invite you to dig deeper, to make further research on this. So that after today, having listened to me, if you choose to remain a victim or you continue to use this particular passage to justify your sinful way of life, then it becomes a choice you have made and no longer a product of ignorance. This statement is made by Jesus, or rather was made by Jesus in the synoptic accounts. The synoptic accounts, you have Matthew, Mark, and Luke. We have it in Matthew chapter 22 from verse 15 to 22, in Mark chapter 12 from verse 13 to 17, and in Luke chapter 20 from verse 24 to 30. To understand any passage in the scriptures, my dear friends, you need to understand the context within which that particular event took place. At the time of Jesus, the Jews were under serious Roman imperialism, and the Roman government imposed serious taxation upon them. As a matter of fact, the Jews paid three taxes. One was called ground tax. Ground tax was 10% of every grain they make, or rather, every grain they made, and 20% of every wine and fruit they produced. We have another tax, income tax, which is 1% of a man's income. Then we have the third one. The third one is called poll tax, which is levied on all men of 14 to 65 years and on all women of 12 to 65 years. And this tax was about 1 denarius, which is equivalent to about 200 naira at this point in our time, between 200 and 250 naira. And why did they pay the tax? They simply paid the tax for living. So it was a tax they paid for existing. They paid for being alive. Taxations like this and other forms of imperialism was what led many of the people to opt for self-determination. In addition to that, an average Jew at the time believed that God is the only supreme leader and only he deserves human allegiance. That whatever tax that needed to be paid must be paid to God and not some civil authority. So a class of people who had that mindset came to Jesus to tempt him. The Sadducees, the Herodians, the Pharisees. And then they asked him, straight question, is it right to pay tax to Caesar? That question was intended to eliminate Jesus, that whatever answer he gave, he was going to be into trouble. First, if Jesus had said, don't pay tax, they would have reported him to the Roman government and Jesus would have been arrested. He would have been accused of inciting civil disobedience. And if Jesus had said, pay tax, then the people would have seen him as being in support of Roman imperialism and as such, an enemy of the people. Jesus, the ultimate wisdom himself, asked for a coin. He asked for a coin because he didn't have one. You know what that implies. And when he got the coin, he asked, whose face was this? At the time, coin was a symbol of authority and power. It was a symbol of conquest, symbol of dominance, such that if a particular place is dominated, is conquered, the political leader that had conquered the area would impose his coin as a legal tender. When they gave him the coin, what was on the on one side of the coin was the face of Tiberius. At the time, every emperor was called Caesar. It was the image of Tiberius Caesar. So Jesus asked, whose face is this? They told him, Caesar's. And Jesus said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. This statement was Jesus calling on his disciples and on all Christians to be obedient to civil authority. This statement was authentication of the fact that a good Christian must necessarily be a responsible citizen. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Be obedient to civil authority. And then to God what belongs to God. Jesus said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, the coin with his image on it. Yes. But then, there is a bigger reality that has the image of God in it, or rather on it. And what is that bigger reality? It's human. Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 tells us that we are made, every human person is made in the image and likeness of God. So if we are to give to Caesar the coin because his image is on it, the legal tender, it therefore means that we are to give our lives to God. This goes to say that participation in civil activity must never, at any point in time, become a hindrance to our relationship with God. This obedience to civil authority must be monitored, must be animated by a formed and informed conscience. Every leader is made in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, every leader is answerable to God. So don't allow any person to use this particular scriptural passage to lead you astray. Give to God what belongs to God, and to Caesar what belongs to Caesar is never an excuse for idolatry. Was Caesar an idol? It's high time we told ourselves the truth. That expression was Jesus inviting us to be obedient to civil authority, to pay our taxes, to be responsible citizens while we give our lives ultimately to God. And in this case, both the leaders and the members of the society have the image and likeness of God. So please, my dear friends, if you are sick, seek medical help. Yes. Science is one of the miracles of our century. Go for medical examination, receive treatment, and then pray, oh Lord, let this medication I'm taking, let it work. Nature has cause and effect. Every action has equal and opposite reaction. And every relationship has terms and conditions. So please, my dear friends, do your part as human. For you to have a reasonable relationship with Jesus, a fruitful relationship with Jesus, you need to abide by the rules. And the rules are very simple. Love God above all things. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Again, I repeat, every relationship, every contract has terms and conditions. Even those who worship idols, they still have their terms and conditions. They have their do's and don'ts. But we have some Christians who want to live the way they want, yet they want to get the benefits of Christianity. It doesn't work that way. It is he who has sown that will reap. So I beg you, my dear friends, do not allow anyone to mislead you. If you have faith, do your part as human. Avoid sin. Pray. You will realize that you would have actually no need to move from one joint to the other. Attend the Holy Mass. Say your rosary. Live the Christian life. Work hard, and the Lord will bless the work of your hand. Don't be among those who believe in these miracle alerts and what have you. It doesn't work. Yes. In John chapter 6, when Jesus fed 5,000 men, what did he say? He said, "What do you have?" They brought what they had. You're asking God to bless you. What are you doing? It is he who has sown that will pray for a bountiful harvest. Yes. Do your part as human. Let God do his part as God. Don't leave your part as human and expect God to do his part as God and his part and your part as human. Don't expect God to do for you what has given you the capacity to do for yourself.